Well, for a closer look at the 2020 Democratic field, I want to welcome former FDIC Chairman Sheila Bair. She wrote an op-ed last month for the Washington Post titled, "I am a Republican and I hope the Democrats pick a candidate I can vote for." Her most recent piece in the Wall Street Journal is titled, "The Republican Case for Elizabeth Warren," but it isn't a formal endorsement. I'm so curious about all of this, Sheila, and I'm so thrilled that you're here this morning. Elizabeth Warren's your candidate?
Well, I'd certainly be happy and proud to vote for her. I've known her for many years. As you know, I worked with her during the financial crisis. I think she's a person of integrity. I think she understands markets better than any other candidate, perhaps save Michael Bloomberg. And I think she wants those markets to work for everybody, not just the concentrated wealth we have now.
The thing I'm so curious about is the earlier piece that I had read suggested you were desperately looking for a moderate, and I would not put Elizabeth Warren in the moderate camp.
So the headline that the Post picked was good for attracting a lot of clicks, but it wasn't my headline. Suggested headline was in defense of government experience. And it really was a piece about how, because we tend to vote negatively, not positively, that tends to favor people with little experience because they don't have much of a record, so you can't criticize them. And you're seeing with this Pete Buttigieg in particular, I think he's really, really unqualified. But, you know, he's a bright, shiny new toy, and people are attracted to them because there's very little to criticize about him because he doesn't have much of a record. So that was really in defense of government experience. I mentioned Elizabeth. I mentioned Senator Joe Biden, too, who I had occasion to work with in the 1980s, back when I worked for Bob Dole. I think they both are examples of people with some experience and proven ability to work in Washington, to effectuate change in Washington, to build those alliances that are so crucial to actually get anything done.
The idea that Joe Biden has now come in fourth place in Iowa, and we don't know whether that's representative of anything, but if it is it suggestive of the rest of the Democratic Party and potentially moving in a more progressive lane? Or does it open up a possibility for Mayor Bloomberg, who you mentioned earlier?
Right. So I think Senator Warren still remains a very attractive candidate. I think for the progressive part of the party, if they want somebody who can bridge to more centrist voters and independent voters, and that's one of the reasons I wrote the piece in the Journal about the Republican case for Elizabeth, because I think she has the chance to draw crossover voters like me as well. So I think actually it underscores some of her strength. Yes, I think Biden's poor showing. We'll see what happens in New Hampshire and Nevada. But I think, absolutely, the chaos in Iowa absolutely helps Mike Bloomberg. He has avoided those early states. Iowa's, unfortunately, kind of marginalizing itself.
Would you take, by the way, would you take Bloomberg over Elizabeth Warren or Elizabeth Warren over Bloomberg if you could get there?
Well, I know Elizabeth Warren much better. And as you know, I care very much about financial reform. And I'm not sure. Look, I think Mike Bloomberg was a very good mayor. I've actually been very impressed with some of his tax proposals. Those are against his interests, against Wall Street investment interests. So I've been, that shows some independence. On the other hand, he is close to that industry. His business makes money from that industry. So whether he was independent from the financial sector would be a chief concern of mine. But he's a very good mayor. I love what he's done on gun control. I love what he did with scholarship funding at Johns Hopkins. He's done some really good things as part of his past record.
Sheila, you criticized Buttigieg for being part of the moneyed system that has sort of corrupted Washington. But Elizabeth Warren was for fundraising from big donors until she was against it. In other words, as a senator, she raised a lot of money in Hollywood, at Silicon Valley, Martha's Vineyard. And then she moved some of that money from her senatorial campaign into her presidential campaign. Is there a little hypocrisy by Warren to criticize Buttigieg?
No, I don't think so, because she's been very pure to her commitment as part of the presidential campaign fundraising. When she first started running for the Senate, she was playing the game like everybody else does. She learned from that. She doesn't want to play that game anymore. She's tried to move beyond it, to her credit, and it's made it harder for her to raise money, but she's sticking to her principles.
Okay. Sheila Bair, thank you for joining us this morning.
Happy to be here.
And if you're a reader out there, go pick up the paper and read her piece.